Hi everyone, Edexcel International A-Levels, Unit 4, the last paper of your business studies subject. Unit 4 is the theme name, you can see the global business. In this global business theme, you can see there are four themes are there mainly, called globalization, global marketing, global markets and business expansion, global industries and companies. Altogether, you can see there are the 37 chapters are there, starting from the you can see the globalization. All these 37 chapters are there under four themes. Every theme starting with the global, right? Global markets, global industries and companies, controlling multinational everything. You can see from starting from chapter 22, because 21 chapters for the unit 3, and starting from chapter 22 and ending in chapter 37, you can see there are 15 chapters we have to cover. Right. So in this session, we are going to mainly do a revision, a rapid revision for all the unit 4 chapters. So the student who preparing for the coming the unit 4 papers, I think this session will be very important. This session will be very helpful them to actually this quick revision, a recap course of all the chapters which cover in the unit 4. In these chapters, okay, we'd like to go to the first one, the growing economies and the globalization chapters, growing economies, international trade and business growth, factors that contribute to increased globalization, protectionism and trading blocs. Under these 5 chapters, you can see this is very important. The globalization we are going to introduce here, because this is a global business. All the international business themes you are going to learn. So now it's a very important thing for students to understand that when you're writing the business paper, this needs a skill of actually you had to use your general knowledge, the common sense, the information that you gathered, right, by reading magazines, journals, websites and everything. So you should use that example in your analysis points, application points, right? So I'll show you what is the exam grid so far for the unit 4 exams covering from these chapters. You can see this is my small research. You can see from 2020 October to 2022 Jan. So far we have up to this level in 2022. We have 5 papers. We can see the analyze. So paper structure similar to question the unit 3 paper. In the question number 1, there are 2 4-mark questions, 1 8-mark question, and 2 12-mark questions are coming. And also in the section B and section C, you can see there are 2 20-markers coming. So 3 different case studies. Section A, which carries 40 marks, right? So I thoroughly recommend to spend at least 1 hour on section A, question number 1, to get 40 marks in 60 minutes. And I recommend to spend at least half an hour on question number 2 and question number 3. Right. You can see these lessons. You can see the kind of like a repeating question. You can see I highlighted with the colors. You can see the constructing demand supply diagram. This green color chapters, you can see like economic questions, construct supply demand diagram, construct supply demand diagram, calculate one decimal place the price relative of demand, PED, some economic related topics are there. So blue color indicate, you can see the emerging economy, which is our first theme, economic sectors, characters of emerging economy, right? Australia is a developed economy, explain characteristics of a developed economy, right? We can see when we are starting our discussion today. And also you can see the yellow color, most of the 8 markers and 12 markers you can see coming from the foreign direct investment questions are every year you can see repeating. FDI question, discuss the importance of FDI in ASEAN. Assess the importance of increased investment flow FDIs, increased globalization, another FDI question. And again, discuss possible impact of increased FDIs for national economy of a country such as Vietnam. Assess the importance of trade liberalization in increased globalization. So all these things comes under, you can see every year. The foreign direct investment also plays a huge role. And also you can see like every year, a repeating 12-mark question you can see from business location. So business location topic also, so I feel if you go thoroughly, you can expect a 12-mark question in this time also. You can see from the beginning, 12-mark questions are there. Assess the importance of skills and availability of labor force for a business choosing business location, especially production location. And next, another question, 12 marker, assess the importance of government incentive for an international business when choosing a production location, right? So here labor, they're asking the government incentive for a production location again. And next year also, assess the importance of infrastructure, such as an area such as Alaska when business choosing a production location. So three different factors: labor force for a production location, government incentives for a production location, infrastructure for a production location, and also here assess the importance of ease of doing business in a country, Vietnam, when choosing a production location. Another four-year back-to-back production locations, they're asking different factors. So in today's session, we are going to talk about this lesson again, revising all these factors, right? 12 marker questions are coming, mainly when you're writing a 12 marker, define production location. What is the mean by production location? And then take this factor and start at least two positives, two negatives, and a conclusion for a 12 marker question. At least, right? So one positive point, one however point, again one positive point, again one however point. So altogether, at least you should explain with three strands, positives, two positives, and two negatives. If you can write more than two positives, you're always welcome. Please try to write a good conclusion also. And the last paper, 2022 Gen paper, we can see assess the possible impact on local economy from Mexican wheels, opening a new plant in locations such as Limeria, Brazil. So again, production location. What is the importance? What is the impact on the local economy? So every year you can see they're asking these five papers, five different characteristics suitable for a production location, right? Labor force, government incentives, infrastructure, ease of doing business, economic environment. So all these things comes under the factors which relates to affecting the production location. Yes, production location we are talking about under the global markets and expansion. We can see here the conditions that prompted chapter 29. Chapter 29, we can see 12 markers so far back to back. We see assessment of a country as a production location. In this chapter today, we are going to find out those things so far. In five papers, five different questions came. So I feel, right, in our coming papers also, these chapters, it can be sometime this time analyze a country as a market location, right? So for all the questions this time, say they ask from production location. So actually, so when you're predicting something, a paper, you can see these chapters are very important to focus on, right? So when you go to the 20 marker analysis, when you go to 20 marker analysis, you can see the 20 marker, the relationships of 20 marker, you can figure it out. Ansoff metrics is again important. They're asking usefulness of Ansoff metrics for Harley-Davidson. Local preference to build a global brand. Impact of movement of exchange rate orientation on international business. Inorganic growth, right? So it's like a unit 3.1. Ansoff metrics also we talk about in unit 3, if you remember. It's a global level, right? Ansoff metrics in a global level. Evaluate whether or not business benefit by operating in a global niche market. Evaluate the potential impact of skill shortages on international competitiveness, country such as Hungary. Evaluate whether promotion or product is the most important element in the marketing mix, a global marketing topic. And evaluate potential for stakeholder conflicts topic, right? From IKEA, the commitment to environmental consideration. Evaluate the extent to which actions of multinational companies can be controlled. How MNC that can be controlled. Because the last chapter of the unit 4 is controlling multinational companies. 20 marker question this time. Controlling MNCs. Right? We can control the MNCs by using the social media. We can control the MNC by using government legislation, by using pressure groups, by using legislations. So this thing actually we can practically apply regarding to this case study. Maxi and Will in this question, the recent paper, they check about the impact, the controlling multinational companies in a 20-mark question. When I was analyzing this paper, you can see that I highlight this and evaluate the impact of global business from increased protectionism. Protectionism was there before, so you can see like tariff, benefits of China imposing tariff, right? So protectionism apply here. This protectionism is another chapter. But you can see the 20 markers, there is no such a relationship of all 20 markers asking from different random topics, right? There is no kind of like a relationship like 12 mark question. But you can see 12 marker, what I found is normally production location will be it's like a checkerboard. You can see every year, a 12-mark question you can expect from production location and all. Impact of and all that questions, you can see this is how the paper structure. So I hope this one, the grid will be very helpful for you, right? In our coming discussions, we'll see I'll state most important sections in our discussion. So I hope you will be there until the end of this session, so you can get some good idea about the coming up exam by using this video, right? And again, please subscribe my channel, share it with your friends, and I really appreciate if you can put some comments and you can put like my videos and everything, because I'm really actually doing this thing as a service for all of my students in this difficult periods, right? So global business is starting from the globalization chapters, especially protectionism chapter. You can see 20-mark question recently came from this chapter. Protectionism, like trade, the tariff and trade liberalization, trading blocks. These chapters are very important. Okay, let's go for the discussion. Chapter 22. Right, growing economies. Chapter 22. So in this chapter, mainly you can understand the most important thing is you are going to understand the characteristics of a developed, developing, and emerging economy. And then you're going to understand the growing economic power of countries within the Asia, Africa, and other parts of the world. Implications of economic growth for individuals and businesses, like trade opportunities for business and employment patterns, and also indicators of growth like GDP and HDI. So we are going to discuss, right? Not like the other question papers like Unit 1, Unit 2 papers. So these parts they're not asking generally to define something. Straightforward questions are not asking. They're asking just assess question, evaluate question, discuss questions and everything. So mainly not only this point, you must be able to analyze something, evaluate something by using your own knowledge of business. Therefore, it is very important. In a final stage, right, year 13, advanced level, A2, Unit 4 paper means, right, this is a full, like a very close to a professional paper. It's more than the academic paper. So always try to use your examples from their knowledge. For example, like if you talk about the protectionism, you can use examples from the all of that's why it's very important. We expected that Edexcel expect that students are spend some time by reading the news and go through the latest updates in the economy, latest updates of the global. It's a global business. Therefore, always this is out of the normal. Sometimes when you're writing, you can if you are a person who always referring the economic magazines, business journals, right? If you always go to the business columns, I think you can more examples you can write from your own. So it's very highly admired when you're writing. You can get good marks, especially 20-mark questions when you're writing something from extra knowledge if you add beyond the case study, right? So this question mainly the characteristics of the different economies. You can see different characteristics are there in the different economies. Talk about the economic different stages. You can see there are developed economies. In developed economies, the main characteristics you can see high income levels. You can see developed economies example. You can see like US, Canada, Japan, Australia. They are high GDP, the per capita GDP, the net income per person is very high. So they have high income levels, right? Like for example, per capita income normally goes 12,476 or more, well backward 2016 rankings. And high literacy rate, these people are really educated. Majority of people can read and write and high school complete at least. High literacy rate, especially like in Germany, USA, Canada, is almost like a close to 100% literacy rate. High life expectancy, right? Because of the health system of the country and medication and everything, people developed countries expected to live over 60 years. Like the highest life expectancy in the world is from Japan, 85.3 years, and 80 years in the USA, and Italy is 82.3 years, like that. And there's a good infrastructure level of the country. You can see the good infrastructure, the access to schools, college, healthcare, the welfare supports. Same thing like physical infrastructure, administrative, I think infrastructure like as well, like bank systems, right? Everything. So everything soft and hard, both infrastructure is there in those countries. Systems are developed there, and highly industrialized countries, right? Highly industrialized countries, this primary sector rely on more heavily on the tertiary sector, and also Lower levels of unemployment. Lower levels of unemployment is another feature that the people who unemployment we can define is the people who have skills and are seeking for a job, but there is no job. But these developed countries, we can see everyone have some, they can easily find some job. And people in developed economies, there are laws to protect employees from being exploited and working conditions. So many like support is there from the government for this thing, right? And then the developing economies, you can see there are more than 200 developing or less developed countries in the world. Like which I see the characters of these are the characters of developed economies. The developing economies mean majority of the countries are developing. Developing means they are the income level is middle and the life expectancy wise everything compared to other countries, developed countries. This is the features: low income level, middle income countries, right? And then low literacy rate, low life expectancy, poor infrastructure, reliance basically on primary sector, right? Agriculture is the main source of living. Reliance on primary sector and also high unemployment we can see in these sectors and all these economies. High unemployment, a lot of people doesn't have a good job. High population growth rate, right? The people population growth rate will be there, uh, right? So as a result, so many social problems, conflicts are there in those countries. Emerging economies and other classification. Emerging economies are normally we can see BRICS countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Or mint countries: Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey comes under emerging economies. Emerging economies we can define as a countries with rapid economic growth, right? Increasing their productive capacity measured from GDP. Right. So the main idea of this emerging economy, there's a rising middle income people, rising average incomes, like especially middle class are expecting to rise, especially in future. This emerging economies can be got the, I think they can promote it as a developed countries in future, right? So these charts and everything are important, these activities. So in this session, we are not going to talk about details, right? It's just like a rough revision, just to memorize all the chapters before the examination, right? Growing economic power in Asia, Africa, and other parts of the world. Yes, because of the growing economic power, in the both these words, BRICS and Mint, you can see Asian countries' participation is there, especially India, China, right? India and China is the world's number one and number two population-wise. They are the number one and two countries, which counts more than they can see the like part of the population. China itself 2 billion population, India 1.5 billion population, like altogether more than closer to 4 billion population, right? Over the past few years. So there's mainly rising these countries is really important, right? Like this kind of a China, we can see like a factory of Asia, and also like emerging countries such as Vietnam is we call sometimes darling of the Asia, factory of Asia, like it's made in China. The rise of China is really important. Now they have a second largest economy in the world, right? Second to USA. So, but they expected to rise, I think, in future. We will be the number one economy sometimes in the world, right? Other emerging markets such as Central and South America, Africa, really big international companies. So these things. Africa also important, Nigeria important, Mexico important, Turkey important, right? There's a huge rapid economic growth happening in these countries, right? Implication of economic growth for individuals' business. When there's economic growth happen, when the economic boom happen, right? There's a trade opportunities coming. That's number one, right? Trade opportunities for businessmen. Disposable income will increase, right? People's income level will increase, means they will spend more money for that, and also income elasticity will be high depending on the product. Employment patterns will be, people get more job opportunities in the countries develop. Unemployment will decrease. There are different types of unemployment. Structural unemployment, right, which is some sectors are more highly unemployed. Example, let's say the agriculture sector sometimes unemployed, sometimes industrial sector unemployed. Seasonal unemployment, cyclical unemployment, frictional unemployment. There are different types of unemployment. Unemployment we are not going to go into detail in this session, right? Like economics, but you should know employment patterns will be there. It gives the idea of how jobs being created in this across the economy, right? So and also it will be vary around the world, right? And also the indicators of growth. Finally, talk about the GDP per capita income as a main indicator of the growth. About that one, we are dividing the countries like about the GDP per capita as a high income country, middle income country, and the low income country. And also Human Development Index is a composite index which actually find out about the life expectancy, mean year of schooling, and especially the life expectancy, the GDP per capita, the Gini coefficient GNI, the gross national income per person, the purchasing power. So it's it's a composite index. It's a combined statistics on life expectancy, education, and income for a particular country. So again, HDI, what are the composite index? Is combined statistics of life expectancy, the healthcare system, and education system, literacy rate, mean year of schooling, and finally the per capita income, the purchasing power of the person. So that's why we call Human Development Index wise. We also that can be categorized. There are ranking system is there, published by the United Nations every year, right? And also that's all about the first lesson, the first chapter. So we can see another 14 chapters more, right? Okay, so the second chapter under the growing business growth, international trade and business growth thing, the sector chapter 22, international trade and business growth. This chapter also in the first theme out of 5 chapters, the second chapter, talking about the main 3 important elements: export and import, implications of increased specialization by countries and businesses, and especially very important exam pilot topic, foreign direct investment and the links to the business growth. So as I told you, the foreign direct investment, these questions were repeated so far in the examination. You can see sometimes it's 2 times. Importance of the FDI to ASEAN, possible impact of FDIs to the Vietnam, like that. FDI questions are important for indirect investment. And also you can see another question: importance of increased investment flow, FDIs to globalization, importance of trade liberalization. This yellow color, you can see there are the questions being tested for 8 markers and 12 markers from these chapters. Therefore, we'll see we thoroughly have to go through, dear students, the FDI chapters, right? So what is international trade? So on the international trade, mainly is import and export. Import means bringing something into the country from foreign countries. You are importing. Sometimes country is not sufficient enough from all the resources. Like we have to import oil. Sometimes the crude oil, gas, mineral resources, right? Some items like this. Sometimes water, right? Some in these countries, sometimes they don't have water. They have to import water from other countries. But some countries, what happens, they have water, resource, everything, but they don't have oil, gas, or essential goods, basic goods. Therefore, we talk about there are visible trade and invisible trade. Visible trade means trading, importing, exporting tangible goods. Invisible trade means service industries, right? Foreign, like transport services, like banking services, right? Foreign tourism and everything. Export, import, the difference between export means when you're selling abroad. Importing means when you're buying from other countries. Import and export is import. I think you should understand that. For easy topic, import and export. You can see people are doing this importing, exporting based on the concept called specialization. So the country will be choosing one item they can specially export, like Sri Lanka, we can see tea exporting, right? And you can see Australia, they export Apple, right? Switzerland, they export watch. Like that, we can see some country specialization is there. Specialization you can see by country level, right? We can see they give some example like Australia in mining, right? China in the production facility, manufacturing, with Bangladesh for textile. It's a country specialization. And business specialization. So sometimes business may enjoy competitive advantage by specializing on one field, because they can get a competitive advantage because they know particular resources that can use for something. Well-trained workers, intellectual property, like that, may be able to better organize their replace cross-border trading enterprises. Just go to these sections. And implication of increasing specialization, that's a topic. So mainly FDI topic, here we go, the important topic, FDI, the foreign direct investment, FDI linked to the business growth. So foreign direct investment, we can see normally when sometimes the country benefiting from the money coming into the country. investing directly in other countries. Firms may choose to invest directly because as a high potential for making a profit to invest in new location. Right, country can be attracted because of the cheap labor, sometimes because of the cheap material, is to sometimes the ease of doing business in the country, sometimes government incentives. So all this topic has been asked so far, right? Every year, the production locations question also this is asked because FDI, there are things that prompt country to attract as a business location, manufacturing location. Foreign direct investment is investing by setting up operation or buying assets in business in other country, right? So, called United Nations, they consider FDI means if one firm take a equity stake of another company like more than 10%. Foreign enterprise, we call this a foreign direct investment, right? So mainly foreign direct investment like it can be or exporting or licensing for many reasons, including the following. Because FDI can be go as a form of like a multinational companies, like franchises, like McDonald's and everything, because they want to do it because managers want to keep their tight control of operations all over the countries, and also a firm wants to protect its intellectual property, like their patents, copyrights. They don't want to ruin it, so that's why they go and FDI, they invest and they start their business branching out, networking in other countries. It need to be close to its customer sometimes. That's why they go closer to the customer. Its products have high transportation and logistic cost. Therefore, it will be very important because if the product has high transportation logistic cost, then you can, yeah, again you can see business will be able to do better to go to closer to the market or customers because of the high transportation cost is in vain. It faces trade barriers and political opposition. Then foreign direct investments are there. So foreign direct investment is the main reason why countries choose to go to another country as a way of foreign direct investment. And different forms of FDIs are there. And foreign direct investment can be built up as a way form of a joint venture. So you can be partner with someone in that local country. Let's say a US firm wants to invest in China. So US firm can actually make a partnership deal with a Chinese company and they can go to the same country with the joint venture partnership. Strategic alliance, sometimes collaborations. Strategic alliance is like a not a joint venture. Strategic alliance makes some kind of a like a mutual company with the mutual benefits, like Star Alliance. It's the largest airline alliance in the world. It's a good example for that. You can find out. All airlines, they combine service and they can strategically get the cost benefits by transferring passengers through their airlines. Buying through a cross-border M&A, mergers and acquisitions is another way of forming FDIs. Mergers and acquisitions. The firm build a greenfield facilities from the stretch, right? So making a like it's like a building a town in the jungle. Something from the beginning, they make the greenfield facilities from the beginning, like selecting a rural location, and then what happened? Making expensive like a infrastructure development, and then you also with the assistance of local government, and then it's just a firm build a greenfield facilities. This is another form. There are different forms of FDI. Another one is horizontal and vertical FDI. Horizontal FDIs mean producing the same products or services is done at for home. Like take of German shipping company like Hamburg by the Danish conglomerate Maersk. It's another thing. Horizontal, same. Vertical form mean like sometimes firm want to acquire their material, sometimes supporters, acquisitions of a supplier. Right? It can be forward vertical and integration or forward backward vertical integration. Forward and backward, basically moving into another part of a value chain. Right? So forward vertical means let's say acquiring a sometime distribution channel. Backward vertical integration means acquiring a supply chain. So it will be different forms of the business expansion. So we're talking that in again the growing thing. So these are the different forms for horizontal HDI, vertical, and HDI. So that's the end of that chapter. You can see foreign direct investments also. Chapter 3, you can see chapter 24, factors contributing to increased globalization. And here also we're talking about the FDI again here. This topic, FDI topic being, we are talking different levels. Here we are talking about the trade liberalization, reduction of trade barriers and WTO, political change, the reduced cost of transportation communication, The increased significance of global multinational corporations, MNCs, right? This one was tested recently. Increased investment for FDI, just a repeating question. Migration within and between economies, the growth of the global labor force, structural change, impact of business increase globalization. These things are there, right? You can see here globalization. You can see the growing integration of world economy is the globalization. Goods being traded, people can like live and working anywhere they choice. There is a site highly interdependence between nations and countries. Capital flows will be freely between countries, and the sharing of technology and intellectual properties there. It's the main features of the globalization. Trade liberalization and the reduction of trade. This one, trade liberalization. Also, once I asked for the possible question, you can see here trade liberalization topic. Here they asked about the for 12 mark, assist the importance of trade liberalization in increased globalization. Trade liberalization, you must have some knowledge on trade liberalizing. Liberalizing means like removing the barrier, right? Free trade, increasing number of countries have opened up their economies and allowed to trade flow without any barriers. This is what is meant by the trade liberalization. Free trade agreement help to encourage trade between nations. Okay, so however, there are disadvantages to globalization, such as exploitation by businesses. These things are there. So mainly trade liberalization, and you can see the free trade, WTO organizations are there, European Union, and free trade movements. You should go through, you should understand this. What are the free trade movements? The role of the WTO, World Trade Organizations. The reasons and everything. You should have some kind of a reading about these things, right? And what are the things they are doing? The World Trade Organizations, the main activities of the World Trade Organization, main 4 activities summarized here: trade negotiation part, implementing and monitoring part, settling trade dispute sections, building memberships. These are the job done by the WTO, World Trade Organization. You must have some kind of like a idea about these things, because these days are really important, this trade liberalization concept, than ever before, because of the things happens in the world, like the war situations. It can be the trade war between US and China. It can be the Ukraine-Russia problem. You can see all these things. The WTO doing a great job in order to promote the trade, right, for the help of mankind, right? And also the political change. So under political change, we have to mainly understand the political change happened in the 3 situations. The Soviet bloc situation, you can see 1991 happened. The Soviet bloc, the Russian Federation, they actually collapsed, and then they become the economy become fully, the socialistic countries become capitalism and the transitional economy. So now the Soviet Russia is no more there. The Russia is a independent country, and the other countries, they give a list of countries, right? In the Latvia, Georgia, Lithuania, Belarus, Estonia, Moldova, they given independence. So now they have become more independent countries, like they are joined European Union, and Russia also began allow the greater movement in goods and services until the recent past, the Ukraine problem. You can see this is there. So I feel sometimes, sometimes related with the global problems also can be checked this time. So anyway, you are open to write your answers. When you're writing a 20-mark question, you can discuss about those matters, right? So it's not mainly I'm talking the criticism part, but mainly you can talk about the recent trends in happening in the world, the pandemic things and the war and all that problems, which sometimes is affecting our global businesses, right? And secondly, the political change happened. This is the number of other countries in Eastern Europe wanted political and economic reform as their relationship with the old Soviet bloc was gone. So this was the fall of Berlin Wall, I call it, the fall of Berlin Wall. Like the situations that happened in Germany. The German was divided by the Berlin Wall as a West Germany and East Germany. But in the past, in historical movement, political change what happened, which increased globalization. The Berlin Wall was like removed. I mean, like it was from the President Ronald Reagan, was removed that. This is a historical moment, right? So as a result of that, what happened? The German become independent, like a united, And then Romania, the communist leader Nicola was removed from the power in 1989. And the most important, what I'm seeing, the most important significant change in political world happens the third one, which is economic reforms in the China, taken place in 1970s. China, you can see now, because after these economic reforms, this is the world's second largest economy, right? You can see it's like a removing, like a opening the bottle of dragon. The dragon now everywhere in the world, right? So Chinese dragons. The development of the reforming in agriculture sector. So in China also they have so much of socialistic features are there in those economies. But right now, because from the 1970s on, China also accepting that there is some kind of mixed economic structure. They encourage private sector also to encourage to invest, and they do their business. So economic reforms helping them to. So there's a kind of a transitional economy now. Both public sector, state sectors very powerful, as well as the private sector of the China very powerful. So they are achieving the world. They are conquering the world economies, everything, everywhere in the world, fast rate. So one day they might be the like a world economic power, right? With their 2 billion population, factory of Asia, everything. So China. So there's a growing the prosperity among the Chinese middle class people now. However, China is seen as an economy that the stage of newly advanced economic development, not yet completely open for business. Still, yeah, they have their own frame of rules and regulations. Still not fully open because they're still maintaining standardizing their disciplinary thing. Like they don't allow, especially for American companies to European companies to enter into their countries. They have a totally opposite thing that they are going to other countries and they are doing their business like the state businesses. But normally other businesses are it's very difficult unless you have a Chinese joint venture business. Foreign direct investment into China could be a little bit tougher right now. Sometimes as a result, some businesses are moving from China to Vietnam as a result of that. But anyway, I feel one day the China will be world number one, right? So there's huge competition between US and China. Even we can see in the Olympics also, right? We can see. But anyway, these are three political changes. I'll again repeat that thing. The Soviet Russian Federation 1999, the fall of Soviet Russian Federation, and also the fall of Berlin Wall, and the releasing the changing economic reforms in China. So these are the main three economic political changes which help to increase the globalization. And also you can see other potential thing in the transportation section. We talk about the reduced cost of transport and communication. So they're talking about the different things such as the transportation airlines become a lot of airlines. They are especially budget airlines came into action. Like so many examples are given. I'm not going to explain everything. Because Ryanair, Flybe, everything, EasyJet, WowJet, everything. And India also began the experience of low-cost air travels like SpiceJet, Go Air, Jet Airways, like that. So and also modern technology allow transfer of complex data instantly, like using internet, right? WhatsApp, email systems, everything. That's another important thing. Containerization we're talking about, yes, because of the containerization, these advantages happen. Before containerization, the cost is $5.83 per ton, but with manual labor, but because of this container, the cost per ton is only 0.16 per ton. You can see how reduction of the handling cost of the carriage, all the cargo has reduced. And also there has been 50% reduction of the capital tied up in tons of stock, and also loss of theft, right? Shrinkage and everything will be lost because of the containerization, because it's locked. And speed of loading, unloading increase. These things also just keep in mind the factors which increase the power of globalization. Increase in significance of global multinational corporation. You can see on the controlling part is the last chapter, but here multinational company you should know, especially the unit 4, there's a huge significant chapter is there, the last chapter of the business studies multinational. So multinational so far, the last chapter is controlling multinational, right? So MNC questions so many so far asking the evaluate the impact of global business from increased protectionism. And as this one, evaluate the MNCs can be controlling MNC section. And also they talk about the multinational parts, mainly different section like so far. So, multinationals definitely when you're writing the answer, because here benefits of Mexican meal of a joint venture with the Donfeng. It's also another way of like a foreign direct investment, right? So in a foreign direct investment form of FDI, I told you, it's a joint venture. So this also you can classify like a in the yellow color. You can see it's another method of right going into the joint venture question. Right. So mainly when you go to the multinational section, how MNCs will be developed to increase the globalization. There's a huge MNC growth in the multinational section. This chart it shows clearly the main multinational 2016, end of 2006, the biggest multinational firms in the world: ExxonMobil, General Electric, Gazprom, Microsoft, Citigroup, HSBC, PetroChina, British Petroleum, everything. In 2016, after 10 years, you can see the how they change this list. Number one become Apple, and then Alphabet, and then Microsoft, Berkshire Hathaway, ExxonMobil, Amazon, Facebook, Johnson and Johnson, General Electric, and China Mobile. So the list changed, right? This is 2016, right? Which is another about 6 years ago, right? So now if you go through, I think you can see even Apple will be there, Amazon will be there, right? And also Tesla also must be there. So somewhere you can see the sectors, right? Mainly IT sector boom. You can see ash color indicate IT sector, and there are so many IT sector. You can see Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, all IT sector businesses, right? In the 2016, but 2006 only IT companies, Microsoft company, right? And major other companies, orange color sectors. Orange color means energy. Energy only become the world's largest, but the ExxonMobil only here in the list is 2016 after 10 years. The world number one, ExxonMobil, fallen to the fifth place after 10 years. Still, they are the only one. The number one place, they still secure the fifth position because they have been surpassed by IT sector companies. You can see this clearly, right? So this thing, the trends and everything must be understand. The multinationals, the now IT sector was tremendous. The development, the rapid boom, the growth of IT sector was important. Increase investment flow. The FDI flows into the country. You can see the how much the FDI flows coming in 2016. USA got US dollar 479 billion FDIs. UK is 299 billion. China 170 billion. Netherlands 80. Ireland 79. And India 44 billion. Like France 42 billion. Like that. There are so many foreign direct investments are there flowing into the countries. Right. These are the main like examples. I think you must have some kind of a general idea about these things. Not to memorize these figures, facts, but you should have some idea. Because of the globalization, foreign direct investments are spreading. Job creation, wealth creation. You can see FDI advantages are here, contributing to world, entering markets, trade exists. So FDI flows, what happened? The problem, the migration thing. People are migrating by seeking good opportunities, permanent or temporarily, for a new location. It is commonly associated people like moving between countries, like they have, right? They are giving examples also. 2018, 2021, Canada plans to welcome about 980,000 new residents in their country. These things, yes, right? Migration is important for globalization, contributing because they can import their culture into new environment. They can provide supply low-cost labor to a nation, and there's a significant proportion of money earned by migrants sent back to their place of birth. So the country will benefit, and also some migrants such as lawyers, doctors, teachers, like musicians, professional people. A skilled migration that can be helped to fill the skill gaps in those countries, right? These things are there. So migration also is a very important hot topic. Go through, right? And global labor force, growth of the global labor force. You can see there's a huge growth of global labor force contribute to globalization of the following reason. There's a bigger global labor market, right? It's creating in China, India, multinational companies. That's one factor, and there's increasing number of people making like themselves available for work, like especially developed countries. This was because like cost increase is another feature of the the labor market should understand, especially like the cost per labor in European countries, China, right? European countries and America has very increased. Increasing number of people making themselves available to work, negative labor market, labor costs in developed countries, because rising supply of labor forces, wages down as a thing. And some people moving into labor market will set up their own businesses once they have gained work experience. This was another trend happens in boost number of business globally. Right. Structural change, you must understand as a result of globalization, what kind of structures change, like primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, service sector, how it arranged. Especially service sector become more prominent and important in the economy, the growth part. And it could be argued that the movement away from these traditional sectors into service that allow business and economies to thrive is because the returns on capital invested in many service industries are often higher. That's why. So mainly, you can understand impact of business of globalization. Because of the globalization, right, you can access the huge markets, right? You can reduce your cost. If you're a businessman, you can reduce the cost, right? Access to labor, and you can reduce the taxation. Some countries are tax havens, but however, there are threats also there. You can understand both sides. Globalization creates some competition among the business, high competition. The power of multinationals, globalization allow large MNCs to become very powerful. Interdependence happen, right? Interdependence between nations will increase, and exploitation. Sometimes, yes, multinational companies can exploit the developing countries, right? This is also very important hot topic that we just finished. The factors, chapter 24, factors contributing to increased globalization. Right. Now we're going to next chapter, chapter 25. Right. So that's important. Chapter protectionism. Right. That's also another. I call it like a call topic. Right. Protectionism. Yes. Why not? There are a couple of you can see question 8-mark question from protectionism. What is discuss the benefits to China of imposing tariff? Right, tariff system. Tariff is a protectionism tool. And another 20 marker. The recent paper, the last question, evaluate the impact of global business from increased protectionism. Right, the latest paper, the 20 marker came from the protectionism part. Increased protectionism. What is the impact on the global business? So therefore, this topic, I feel this is a kind of very kind of being like a very like a hot topic, but you should know definitely what is protectionism, especially reasons for protectionism, tariff, right? There was a 12 marker, and then import quota, other trade barriers like government legislation, domestic subsidies, and impact on the protections. These parts are important. We'll see go through what is protectionism. Protectionism is like protecting local businesses from foreign companies. Like protectionism, it can be some restricting some trade, right? So it is like argue that it's not a free trade, but so government try to protect the infant industries. That is important, right? So but some government has opted use of trade barriers. These are the illegal thing. They are doing protectionism due to prevent dumping. Sometimes, yes, globalized multinational companies, then they can sell their product at very cheap prices. Right? When they sell the product at low prices, the local companies will be definitely kicked out of the market, drive away from the market. And another reason for protectionism is protecting employment, protect the employment in the country. Because if the industry is there, if the industry was ruined by the multinational company, then there will be a problem. Therefore, protecting infant industries, another reason, protecting infant industries from large companies and to gain tariff revenue. Right, it's another thing. To government want to increase the government income, tax income. So tariff revenue, tariff means another term for tax, is a tax on imports. So government want to earn some income through the foreign businesses. And preventing the early harmful, undesirable goods to the country. Yes, if they open up the economies, undesirable, harmful products can be come into the country. Therefore, the government should monitor closely what are the things that they import and everything. Reduce the current account deficit sometimes. We can do the protectionism. reduce the current account. Current account exists meaning the difference between export income and import expenditure. And way of retaliation between countries, there can be some retaliation can be happen, like we call it tit for tat, like now the like US-China trade war, something like that. Protectionism can be used to go for like a retaliation against another country. And as a way of national security also we can see another uh, reason why we use it into protectionism. Right. So these are the protectionism reasons so far. Let's talk about the tariff. From tariff section, you can see there are so far there's a question asked about the tariff question in the past. It's a 20-mark question on increased protectionism. We can talk about overall everything. And this question is a 8-mark question: potential benefits for China by imposing tariffs. So you should know tariff positives and negatives. Right? Tariff positives and negatives mainly. They are given examples from the world, what will happen from the tariffs, right? For the China, not only China, general advantage, the tariff has taken place. In example, in Ecuador, they imposed 2015 a tariff of 21% on import from Colombia, right? 2018, Indian government increased tariff on 50 product groups on everything, which is coming from different countries. And European Union imposed tariff on import from a number of countries, right? These things. So tariff mainly advantages mean, you can say again, when you write in this answer, you can talk about the reasons for tariff, reasons for protectionism. Because tariff is one method of protectionism. We can talk about why China can be benefit of that, like national security, retaliation, reduce deficits, preventing like dumping undesirable goods. So these reasons you can write as a when you're asking like a 8-mark question. So 2 positives for and 2 against you can talk about. I think you can manage that with that. So tariffs is like that. So this is very important. So when next topic is after tariff, the quota, import quota. Import quota is supply restriction is called import quota, right? Import quota. This is second part of the after tariff. The tariff is the tax on import. Government can take some kind of income out of it, and then there will be a protectionism happen. People will discourage sometimes to consume something, and then other one is the import quota. So import quota is a kind of a physical limitation. When you're importing something, the government can put some kind of restriction on the quantity of the items that they are bring them down to into the country. For example, USA doing it like we call GSP plus. They're giving some kind of a ration between the countries or the imports and everything. They have a limits for the item that they bring, import quantity. So this part also important. Sometimes countries the becoming zero, we call it embargo. Sometimes extreme situation of quota, we call embargo situation. Completely ban the imports. Imports become zero for a consumer. For example, let's say right now, Sri Lanka have some kind of situation economically. Because we don't have any the foreign reserves, so import ban is there for certain amount of items, especially all the imports of luxury items, including vehicles, the electronic items, everything. They have some. It's not like an embargo. It's like a ban. It's not a sanction even. It's like an internal, like a controlling system, in order to prevent the foreign outflow of foreign exchange out of the country. Right. So we should know what is the quota, how it works, and what are the benefits, pros and cons of the quota system. You can see the given examples also. Quotas happen in the world. Japan has made use of the quota for recent years, like for non-fat dried milk import from like this 14,000 metric tons to 27,000 metric tons. And 2018, India imposed a quota of 5 million tons of pulses, right? And also Vietnam used quota to control the quantity of sugar coming into the country, because Vietnam WTO import quota was 89,500 tons of raw sugar, refined sugar. There are certain things are there, milk, sugar, and everything. So quota is another second method of protectionism. The third method of protectionism is the government legislations and domestic subsidies. You can see mainly government has some legislation. You should know the administrative legislations, tariff, and apart from tariff and quota, the government can again they can put some kind of a restriction by using the legislation part. which pass to prevent entry, like shipments of toys must be returned if they fail to meet the strictly safety regulation. Especially in European Union, there are so many safety standards and things are there. If the goods are not certified by those restrictions, I mean like those standards, they do not enter those items into the zone. Therefore, it's very important to get the legal legal import bans aim to protect consumers from potentially harmful goods. Right? Australia has a potentially wide range of import controls for some food and animal products to protect the environment, wildlife, and domestic animals from infection. Yeah, because of the this thing, a harmful thing, because country, flora and fauna, like nature, I mean everything, wildlife, animals, everything can be get infected. Bacteria, germs can be come from other countries. This is the main reason for these restrictions. It's important. Other one is domestic subsidies. Yes, the government can provide without actually banning the import from foreign countries. They can encourage local suppliers like farmers by giving subsidies for them, especially farm products like in agriculture, the fertilizer subsidies, everything is examples for that. To reduce how much nation relies on rare earth materials, and also number of business receive subsidies from the government to support the development of fossil fuel. Another example. So you should know the impact of protectionism on business is an important part. Recently, as I told you, the 20 marker from the protectionism question was tested from this section to evaluate the impact of global business from the increased protectionism. This 20 marker is mainly based on this topic. You can see we talk about the different types of protectionism from quota, tariff, global government legislation. So what is the impact of protectionism? Yes. Arguments for and arguments against. So first, there are arguments for advantages of protectionism, like to reduce competition from overseas, to benefit the local business by reducing competition, right? And also, tariffs are imposed on domestic producers can compete more easily in the market. Some extra profit may be used to develop new products, like the government can gain some income. And there will be help to improve the efficiency and competitiveness of the domestic business. And as a result of that, right? And quantity of import reduced, the quotas are imposed. This means the domestic producers can fill the gap in the demand. Opportunity coming from domestic businesses. The disadvantage for arguments against, however, in the long run, businesses are likely to benefit more from free trade. Therefore, protectionist policies will harm the businesses. How can she go through everything? Like there are pros and cons of protectionism is there. Right. Another one problem with protection that the likely to attract retaliation from overseas government is you do something, so other government also do the same thing for you. It comes back, right? That's a effect, right? Like whatever you give, it comes back to you. Same thing, right? So basically, that is the consequences that face, right? So that's all about the protectionism part. So you should know what is the protectionism definition, definitely, right? It's an approach used by government to protect domestic producers. You should know those things. What is a quota? What is dumping? What is embargo? What is import quota? What is a subsidy? What is a tax breaks? What is a trade war? Everything. All right. So we are going to the theme one, the last topic after preparation, chapter 26. The next theme of the this one is the trading blocks. So far from the trading blocks, there was not that much question, but this one you can write in a 20 markers and everything. This knowledge is important to use for other questions, such as 12 markers and the 20 markers. We can use for big questions, this trading block question. Trading block mainly should know the knowledge about the European Union, ASEAN, and NAFTA. European Union, ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations. NAFTA stands for North American Free Trade Agreement. So, right, you must have a general knowledge, common sense about these three situations. Not who are the members and what are the they're doing, and impact of this trading blocks on business, especially, right? So free trade serves are important in order to increase the free trade. The countries in the region, the regional collaboration is important, like European zone is one. There are certain things that are called FTAs, free trade areas, free trade zones, custom unions, common markets, economic union, single market. I think this thing is important. You can go through the features of this by using this table. You can see the free trade area is only no internal trade barrier. The custom union is only common tariff and no internal trade barrier. If it's a common or single market, there's a common tariff, no internal barriers, and free movement of goods and labor force is there. Finally, the other one is economic and monetary union. You have a common tariff, no internal barriers. There's a free movement of goods and common currency. Also, like European Union, there's a common currency of euro. Right. So these are the examples of the European Union, ASEAN, NAFTA. The region is based on base region, member countries, date of formation, type of agreement, everything is there. The European Union is Economic Union, the last one, so it's still available. Like recently, like 2021 onwards, you can see the Europe, the UK is not a part of this, right? After Brexit, right? So UK was there, those two, but now UK is not a part of European Union. So, but there are all these countries. No need to memorize all these things, but you should must have some idea who are the European Union countries: Australia, Belgium, Croatia, Denmark, France, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, Sweden, right? Czech Republic, Poland, Romania, Hungary, Slovenia, Slovakia. So you can see Ukraine is not a part of European Union, right? The Ukraine president asked this several times, but he's not in the European Union, because if he is a part of European Union, then there will be, I think the problem will be much more severe, right? So, but still the support is there for the, I mean, that's a different story, but we must know it's a 1993 formation and economic union. Other two, ASEAN, NAFTA, FTAs, free trade areas only. Free trade area, you know, there's only no internal trade barriers, and that's the only opportunity. Within among these countries, no tax, no tariff, right? So especially ASEAN, like Southeast Asian nations, right? Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam. These things are important. And also 1967, the oldest one, and other one is a NAFTA. 1994, Canada, Mexico, USA, right? So Canada, Mexico, USA. There's no tax on these three countries, so import export is free, no internal trade barriers. So these countries. So if you want to access USA, you can start a business in Canada. You can start a business in Mexico, especially Mexico. There's cheap labor and everything. You can access easily to big countries like this. All right. So this is important. Just go through this knowledge. You can use in some now to question. They have given the maps where the country is located. This is NAFTA, red color indicate, and this is European Union, blue color, and this green color indicate the ASEAN, right? So we should understand the impact of this. The last topic of this is the flags and everything. Just go through. I think this is not that much. I mean, like, no, it's not exam pilot, but I mean, must have common general knowledge about this thing. What ASEAN doing, what NAFTA doing, right? Must have kind of a good idea about these countries. The most important topic of this lesson is the impact of these trading blocks for the businesses. First of all, the opportunities you must see, because of the countries have this kind of a collaboration with the trading block. Free trade is there, market for firms created, and volume of trade increase in the region. Resources may be easier to source and labor is easier to recruit. As trade increase may be result in greater competition, right? Trading blocks may also provide a counterbalance. These advantages are there. However, right, trading blocks important. However, there are drawbacks also for the business from trading blocks. The main trading blocks is, yes, if you become part of like a membership, sometimes you can't trade outside the, right, because of the trading outside the region. Maybe like sometimes better deals are there, we can't go to those deals because of the restrictions. The trading agreement is a kind of a violation of the trading agreement. You can't purchase from outside, and inefficient producers sometimes get protected as a result of that. Yeah, there are efficient producers for other countries, but you can't I mean, make agreement with those countries because of the restrictions. Overall benefits may turn out to be small sometimes, even the countries these trade agreements, and locally some of the benefits may be distributed unequally. right? And also benefits the global like accrue inside the trading bloc, lead to tension in other regions also. Other countries will be like frustrated because they are not part of that like that. Just go through all this. That's the end of the first theme, right, my students? So normally we talk about right now 5 lessons from chapter 22 to chapter 25. So my next theme is this one out of 4 themes, right? 25% of the, I mean, like 5 lessons out of 1/3 of the unit 4 has done, because 15 lessons, 5 lessons done right now. In my second video, you can expect this one, the global markets and business expansion. So we are going to talk about the organic and inorganic growth infrastructure from the global market business expansion methods from this lesson. So stay tuned with my channel, stay tuned with my videos. In my second discussion, like second recording, I'm going to talk about the global market and business expansion along with the past papers. So stay tuned with the next video. Thank you very much for connecting with these 5 lessons.